I am here to tell you that you do not have to decide between working on building the relationships with your customers and outsourcing that to influencers. Take charge of your brand by understanding how to combine these two incredibly powerful forces for the sake of your brand and your movement. Hey, I'm Molly from Visibility Hacking Studios, and we work with small businesses and aspiring entrepreneurs, visionary leaders, and we help them build those relationships with their customers, build deep, lasting relationships using relationship marketing, but at the same time, we also use the power of influencer marketing at the same time. So in today's video, we're going to look at the differences, the similarities, what they are between relationship marketing and influencer marketing, where they're the same, where they're different, and most importantly, where we can combine their forces for more power. We'll also talk about how to build trust and loyalty with influencers, with relationship marketing, and everything in between. And at the end of the video, I'll share with you a case study of what happens when relationship marketing and influencer marketing collide. So if you want deeper relationships with your customers, loyal following, and more money in the bank, well then stay tuned. See you after the intro. Let's start off with the basic question. What is the difference between relationship marketing and influencer marketing? In a world that's hyper-saturated with advertisements and billboards and commercials everywhere you look, an influencer waving the latest lip gloss is going to completely change that pattern, and you're more likely to actually pay attention. The reason you're more likely to pay attention is because with that influencer, you've built know, like, and trust factor. You know who they are. You like them. That's why you're going to continue to watch their content. You trust their opinion because, well, they've shown you products they like, they've shown you things they don't like, they've shown you everything in between. So that's a fantastic way of shaking it up and getting your message and your brand across to your audience without feeling like you're bombarding them with all of these advertisements, campaigns, and billboards and commercials and all of that kind of stuff. See, the difference is that influencer marketing isn't about pushing products, even though they are highlighting different products that they like, for example, that lip gloss they're waving around, but they're not focusing entirely on the product as much as they're focusing on the relationship with their audience. They're showing their particular niche down audience why this product or this service matters. Influencers aren't trying to sell to everyone. Well, most influencers aren't trying to sell to everyone. They're trying to sell to their particular audience. And when I say sell, I don't necessarily just mean selling products. What I mean is selling the lifestyle, selling the perspective, selling the products and the services is just a side hustle to the building of the relationships and the building of the community they have with them. When an influencer brings up your product or your service or your offer, what they're doing is they're changing the context that their audience is getting to see and understand what it is they're being shown. Influencers do this by leaning on narrative. They tell stories. They put the product or the service in a different context. It's not just on the context of, that's a billboard, that's trying to sell me something. It's a completely different experience because now we're being shown this product by someone we know, like, and trust, remember? So that means we're more having a conversation about a product that a friend is telling us about rather than that an authority figure is telling us we should buy. It feels less transactional and feels more authentic and relational. Which brings us to our question of the day. In your industry, in your niche, in your world, who would be top influencers in your opinion? Let us know who they are down in the comments. And of course, as I always tell you guys, bonus points for posting any links. Now we have to talk about building trust and loyalty. And yes, we've talked about know, like, and trust. That's the first steps to it. Then once we focus on building trust, we can transition to building loyal customers, people who return over and over again, who evangelize our brand. In the visibility hacking world, if you've been around for a little bit, you know that in every story you tell, you should actually be telling two different stories. You need to tell your authority story of why people should pay attention in the first place, and you also need to tell your relatability story. What makes you approachable? What makes you on my level? So it's kind of weird. You have a story that puts you up at the top of the mountain, as we say, and then you have a story that shows your progress and your realness in achieving that result. The obstacles you face, the stumbles you've had along the way. Maybe you don't love the product, or you found a new way to use it, or whatever. Influencers build both trust, authority, and relatability simply because they lean on the connections with their audience. We talked about the importance of storytelling already. The same thing applies here. Once you build that connection with your audience and you lean on that connection with your audience, everything's going to change, whether you're an influencer or not. Because when you move towards the relationship, what you're doing is you're moving away from leaning on the transactional. This feels less slimy. And when we feel less slimy, we're more inclined to trust people. When we trust them and we love their products and we love the way that they framed that experience for us, then we're going to become loyal to that brand, because we know that the people behind the brand is so much more than just the product or the service that they're selling. Consider this your daily reminder to hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, and join us here on the channel. Now let's talk about a case study that I think is really impactful when it comes to talking about both relationship marketing and influencer marketing. So we know that relationship marketing is more than just becoming friends with your people, right? It's understanding what their motivations are, understanding where their obstacles are, and creating a connection with them. And influencer marketing is utilizing and leveraging the connections that others have built with their audiences. So making sure that you're finding influencers who are part of your niche or connect to your ideal customers as well is really, really important. Don't just go out there and try and bring every influencer in. Be really specific. An amazing example of this is pretty much every commercial Nike has ever put out there. Every campaign they have ever done leans both on the relationship and on the influencers. And so we got to talk about it. What Nike does really effectively is when they create campaigns that partner with aspiring athletes who are still putting in the work, who are still working and climbing their way to the top. Because we love to see and to experience defeat just as much as we love to see and experience glory and victory. And so what Nike does is they position themselves as partners in this progress with these athletes. This is powerful from a campaign perspective because what they're doing is leveraging these micro communities that these aspiring athletes are building around themselves. That Nike is now able to position themselves as a leader in the industry in these really niche areas. They don't just highlight basketball and soccer players. They niche down into these smaller sports like bobsledding and skeleton. And yes, I think sliding sports are amazing. So when these two different objectives are being met, not only are they able to leverage the community and the connection that each of these athletes is building on their own, but they're also able to position themselves, Nike, as an integral part of the success story of those athletes. And what's cool about influencer marketing is that they have this added layer. Their audience sees themselves in the stories of these micro influencers, of these athletes. And so Nike now, just by being part of this ecosystem, is now positioning themselves in that success story, not just for the athlete that is the influencer in the campaign, but also in the success story of everyone in their audience. so powerful. We literally cannot do this in any other way other than leveraging the power of influence and relationship at the same time. And that, my friends, is not just something that big budget brands like Nike do. It's something that you, as a small business owner, as a solopreneur, as an entrepreneur, as a visionary leader, are able to do because we have all of this technology at our fingertips. I love to say start a live show, but we can talk about that another day. But what I want you to do is focus on creating a list of who the top influencers would be in your industry. You pick your A-lists, and then I want you to go down and look for the people who are climbing their way to the top. Those are the influencers I want you to start to approach. Those are the influencers whose you want to create a Venn diagram. Who is their audience? Who is your audience? If there's an overlap in any way, then that's an influencer I want you to start trying to approach. You are not piggybacking on their success and their work. What you're doing is partnering. You're creating an opportunity to introduce your audience to them and introduce their audience to you. It needs to be of mutual benefit or it's not going to work out very well. So that's it for today, my friends. If you want to know more about communicating effectively so that you can approach these influencers with your head held high, then check out our communication series or check out this video. The algorithm thinks you'll like it. So thanks for joining me today, my friends. I will see you in our next one. Until then, remember, as per usual, I love you. Be excellent to each other. Just go live. Your people are out there and they're waiting for you.